Hey, ELD with Brainstorm MTG, bringing you some weekly Legacy live from Scholars. We've got the live stream every week, 7:30 on Twitch TV, and of course we've got the archive here, which now features commentary. Hope to give you some insight into the way that these decks work and some of the matchups. So I am on Manaless Dredge, Kenton on the mono red sneak attack deck. A very powerful list, highly underrated, and actually got the new addition of Blood Sun. Of course, Blood Sun not going to do anything in this matchup because I have literally 0 lands in the deck. That is going to take away a lot of the bite out of Kenton's list. It also gets rid of a lot of those extremely good hands. Turn 1 Blood Moon does beat a lot of decks and of course does absolutely nothing here. So he is at this point looking for an effect, just a quick combo kill, which he's more than capable of doing. So discarded Golgari Thug leads to a Narcomoeba on the first turn, slowly moving forward here. I have Phantasmagorian in hand, one of the best cards in the deck. That allows you to discard 3 cards from your hand in order to return it. And one of the fun tricks that you can do with that is respond to the activation with an additional activation. That's going to allow you to discard 6 cards before Phantasmagorian comes back, and that can set up some very good turns as well. So it looks like we've got a Gitaxian Probe in hand, and during Kenton's end step, we are discarding 6 cards, putting that Nether Shadow way at the bottom of the pile to get him into the party as soon as possible, and Kenton's hand really not holding up here at all. Just that basic mountain. So after mulling, really didn't find what he needs. We've got a Nether Shadow coming back, an Ichorid coming back. That puts Dread Return online. This is looking like it's going to get out of hand very, very quickly. We've got Golgari Thug dredging another Narcomoeba, so piling on. This is getting wildly out of hand. We've got Bridge from Below in the graveyard. Cabal Therapy, going to be able to start chipping away at Kenton's hand. And let's find out what we're going to take with Therapy by probing. That both gives information and sets up the Therapy. So there we go. That is going to do it for Kenton. He is not going to finish that game. Going to go ahead and try and have better luck with the sideboard. He's going to have a lot of cards that can come out there. All of those enchantments, not worth it. Blood Sun does draw a card, but in this matchup, very unlikely that he's going to be okay paying 3 mana just to draw a card. Hopefully he has a lot of spicy stuff that he can bring in. And on my side of the board, taking a look at Force of Will, contemplating Mindbreak Trap. Trap is a card that could come in versus the most broken of hands, and that would look something along the lines of a Seething Song and a Through the Breach, preceded by Chalice. That way the Mindbreak Trap could hit that Through the Breach. But I mean, that is such a unlikely scenario, and really only some of the very best hands for Kenton. So we're going to assume that hands involving multiple Seething Songs are not going to be part of the equation. I suppose the most likely would be a turn 1 Seething Song into a broken play like Through the Breach or Sneak Attack, putting in multiple monsters. Probably not worth it. Can probably just accept defeat in those games. And on my side, I'm just going to kind of slow the deck down just a little bit. Going to be a little less reliant on the combo. There are cards like Thorn of Amethyst, Fear Resistance, Trinisphere, and those cards will stop me from playing anything. Thalia is in that camp as well. Not that it is in the mono red deck here, but anytime they're bringing in onboard tricks that just stop all of the graveyard spell casting, you don't really want those cards to be full boats in your deck. You can keep some in there to give yourself the chance to combo out, but you really don't want to be in a situation where you have to combo out in order to win. Force of Will certainly going to pull some weight versus a combo deck like Kenton, and it probably best suited versus this type of deck, seeing as how he does tend to move all in on just singleton big spells. A Sneak Attack or Through the Breach generally being good enough to just win the game all by itself. All right, so Kenton has a lot of experience versus Manaless Dredge. He actually played it a lot while it was, in his view, the best deck in the format. That was back when Mental Misstep was part of the equation. Of course, Manaless Dredge does get hurt a little bit by Mental Misstep in that you can have your Cabal Therapies and Gitaxian Probes countered, but it's not nearly as backbreaking as it was versus decks that were trying to run cards like Aether Vial or Goblin Lackey, really key turn one spells, Sensei's Divining Top, things that you really had a massive advantage if they resolved, and you were in bad shape if they got countered. That free counter was just devastating. Now the only place you can play that is in Vintage. Legacy, perhaps the better for it being gone. It's certainly extremely diverse format, and it was a card that put a lot of pressure on deck builders and made it so the format was not as diverse when it was around. So I don't think too many people miss that in Legacy. If you miss it, however, we do have Vintage events coming up all year long. Scholars is a big supporter of the Vintage and Eternal formats, so Legacy, Vintage, a lot of Commander players as well. If you can sleeve up Brainstorm, I'm on board. All right, so Kenton's got a Trinisphere over there. I have a Force of Will. My hand looks exceptional here. Phantasmagorian, Golgari Grave-Troll, Force of Will. So that is really where you want to be. And we will see how this goes. Kenton mulliganing. He knows the type of hands that he's going to need to be able to hang with this deck. And that is going to be either an explosive combo hand or something that has some way of interacting with the graveyard. Cards like Surgical Extraction, Faerie Macabre. In his case, he could be running Tormod's Crypt, Grafdigger's Cage. A lot of different options, either from the artifacts or from cards played from hand. Ravenous Trap, another one. Doesn't really see much play at this point. But, of course, very powerful versus Manaless Dredge. And here we go. Ancient Tomb into Chalice at 1. So that is going to stop the beneficial side of Gitaxian Probe. However, importantly, it doesn't completely blank Cabal Therapy from the graveyard. I can still cast the therapy, generating tokens. I just won't be able to strip any cards from Kenton's hand. So that is potentially okay with me. In this case, I do have a Gitaxian Probe. I would love to be able to use it, but that is not going to happen with that Chalice. That's also a scenario where I need that full hand, so it's not even worth trying to play any type of tricks with that card. We've got Prized Amalgams going in. All right, so we got 2 Prized Amalgams versus when you're playing a blue deck and the Gitaxian Probe may just be a completely dead card, there are a lot of tricks you can do in order to sneak it underneath that Chalice. But that in this instance, if it did get countered, then I would be losing my discard step. Not worth trying to play those type of games and kind of psych out your opponent and get that probe to resolve, because the fail case there is just too punishing compared to the fail case of just getting rid of a card that was totally dead. Oh no, so we have Seething Song. Here we go. Kenton looking to do something very explosive here. And let's see what he's got. Could be a sneak attack or a through the breach. Either one of those coupled with a giant monster would be hugely problematic. And going in for more mana to hard cast Inferno Titan. That is a big threat right there. That has got to be worth Force of Willing. So there we go. Force of Will on the Inferno Titan. He is out of there. And still able to just dredge slowly here. So things are looking good for Manaless Dredge. Kind of going along the plan. Got a couple of dredgers in the graveyard. So Kenton in a tough spot. Oh no, but he has Faerie Macabre. That is going to get rid of both dredgers. So excellent play from Kenton there. Packing that card. Really putting a huge dent in the plan here. And follows it up with a sneak attack. Wow. So Kenton really drawing what he needs here. Just 2 cards in hand, but in excellent shape. All he needs to do is draw a monster, and that could be it. Now, I am at 19, so he's going to want something that has a little bit of staying power, maybe a Gristlebrand, maybe a card like Worldspine Worm that will not only hit me for 15, but also leave a wake of worms to finish the game. Now, I do have a Force of Will, which could stop another hardcast creature, but that is extremely unlikely now that Sneak Attack is down. There's not much left that I'm going to want to counter. Aside from those sneak attack activations, which Force of Will can do absolutely nothing about. So end of turn, returning Phantasmagorian, getting those Golgari Grave-Trolls into the graveyard, draw step, dredging 6, another Phantasmagorian, so a mini combo assembled there. I can discard 3 cards to return Phantasmagorian, and just keep discarding Phantasmagorians to keep that loop going, so I won't have any difficulty keeping the graveyard stocked from my hand. But this is a very dire situation. Do have a Bridge from Below in there, so that Nether Shadow is going to start to be able to generate some card advantage, perhaps. And we'll see. Kenton, perhaps no creature yet, so a little bit of good fortune there for Manaless Dredge. Surveying the graveyard, perhaps he has another Faerie Macabre. One interaction here is the sneak attack, putting in a creature. When that creature dies, that is going to get rid of Bridge from Belows. So that also may be what Kenton's thinking about here. And it looks like he is going to reach for his red mana, so we're going to see some fireworks here. There's an Emrakul coming in for 15, Annihilator 6, going down to 4 life. So there we go. He gets rid of the Bridge from Below, shuffles that Faerie Macabre back into the deck as well as the Emrakul. So really, either one of those would be reasonable draws. Getting to the point where putting in Faerie Macabre off of Sneak Attack might be able to do the job. This is a very low life total. And Kenton really just any one giant monster away from just ending this game. Of course, that Nether Shadow going to be coming back and start to chip away. So this is anybody's game. And we've got another end step return Phantasmagorian, keeping that graveyard stocked, making sure to dredge with Golgari Grave-Troll. So upkeep returning Nether Shadow, triggering Prized Amalgams. So there's 3 Prized Amalgams. So this is threatening a next turn lethal. So Kenton really just has 1 turn to draw his giant monster, and there's 2 Narcomoebas. So lots of potential blockers there. Force of Will, an illusion of safety there, because that sneak attack activation is really the only thing that's going to matter here. And thinking about the attack with Nether Shadow, whether or not he could possibly be called upon to block, there's really not much chance that that's going to matter. Might as well send in what you can when you can here. Inferno Titan would be lethal. Emrakul would be lethal. Worldspine Worm. Gristlebrand, oddly enough, not lethal. He would also be able to draw 7 cards at 9 life. And there's a Trinisphere off the top of the deck. Almost certainly not going to get the job done. No other monster in Kenton's hand. So that is going to do it. What a game there. Through the breaches in hand and a Kozilek's return. So he actually could have swept most of the board. But those Prized Amalgams with their giant backsides, 3 toughness, just too much to handle there. So that is the match. Well played, Kenton. Thanks for watching, everyone. We will be back with the next video. There's 4 videos this week featuring Manaless Dredge. And this is the first few weeks of doing commentary. I'd love to hear feedback about what you guys would want to see. We actually got some feedback this week asking us to turn the match volume down. So I've gone ahead and done that. Let me know if that's what everybody likes, if it's clearer and more concise when you're watching. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.